Hey family, welcome to the Jamal Bryant podcast, Let's Be Clear, where we endeavor to build a bridge from the sanctuary to the street corner, from the pews to politics, and from church to the culture. I got this mic on. Jay-Z said it best, all I need is one mic. He had no idea how prophetic it was because mics are being cut off all over the country. I'm not sure, quite frankly, how long this podcast is going to maintain under this administration and under this regime, where the president is threatening that if you don't say 10 complimentary things about him, then you may lose your license. Here's the reality. They may very well cut off comedians at night, but rest assured, if they do, they'll be trying to cut off preachers on Sunday morning. Over the last 2 weeks, I have seen a scathing irony, if not hypocrisy, about what it means to have freedom of speech. It appears, here lately, that you have the freedom of speech as long as you agree with white supremacy, the MAGA agenda, and evangelicals' tainted gospel. I stand today because what it is that we are looking for is the unmuzzling of those who, in the words of Hosea Williams, will be unbought and unbossed. Look at what has happened the last 2 weeks. That Jimmy Kimmel, a late-night talk show host, is first expressing condolences to the family of the assassinated, and then begins to do an autopsy of statements that were divisive and laced in hate-mongering. And because of it, he was escorted off the air. Not one person escorted off the air when rude and demeaning statements were said against the sitting President of the United States, Joseph Robin Biden, when he was diagnosed with cancer. Absolutely nobody was escorted off the air. When it is that caricatures were made about our then and forever First Lady, Michelle Obama. Nobody lost their job because of posts that were a derogatory and a demeaning nature around former President Barack Hussein Obama. But if you say anything about somebody who is white or Republican, you'll find your job under question. You'll see your salvation being questioned, your relationship to God being questioned, because freedom of speech is now coming with an ankle bracelet. Freedom of speech is now coming, here it is, with a urination cup to see whether or not you are really patriotic or not. Freedom ain't free. No longer. Can we find it free under this time and under this hour? And if you don't believe me, ask Tiffany Cross. If you don't believe me, ask Don Lemon. If you don't believe me, ask Joy Reid. All of them outspoken journalists, public intellectuals who gave a full encompassing a diagnostic thought about what was taking place in culture and time, society, and politics. And as a consequence, they were told in no uncertain terms that they were Negroes who did not know their place and found themselves out of a job. I wish to God, the same ferocious energy that was placed around Jimmy Kimmel, which I think is and was appropriate, that we found that same energy around those who really stood under the constitutional umbrella that we have a right to know, a right to understand, and a right to disagree. African despotic leader. I said many years ago, I can give you the freedom of speech. I just can't guarantee that you'll be free after the speech. And that's what with the times that we're under now. I gave some analysis about the podcaster who was assassinated and how I did not think that it was appropriate to align him with the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. And 20,000 people followed me in 48 hours. They were not supporters. They were detractors. And I was lambasted from pulpits, from sacred space of sanctuary, from those who criticized me for being divisive and being a hate monger. Adjectives that were never ascribed to somebody who was Caucasian. I was met in DMs and in messages, in posts, in sermons, and in podcasts that I was really just a race baiter. But those same fiery darts of aspersions were never casted on white pastors who said things that really uprooted the whole notion of liberty and justice for all. I can't tell you how many times I was told to keep politics out of the pulpit. And I stand to tell you that that charge was never levied against the pastors who affirmed the administration. It is only those who stand in the mantle of Nathan who says that this is out of order, that this is wrong, that this is in error. Pastors who spoke up over the last week, all of whom condemned violence, all of whom condemned political violence, all of whom stood squarely against shooting and against gun violence in America, but only brought to bear, as has been the tradition of the church, to speak to what is out of order. And I want you to see what is showing up in your algorithm. Those who will say, don't make your race an idol. Don't worship being black. Never once in the history of Americana have you heard such language and such directive aimed at Caucasians not to make your race your idol. They've given the false premise that you have to choose between being black and being Christian. It's a false start. Jeremiah Wright, pastor of Trinity, pastor emeritus of Trinity, United Church of Christ, says we are unapologetically black and unashamedly Christian. You can be both. You do not have to choose. When God made us, He made us in His image and in His likeness. James Brown says, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. To say that I am black and proud of being black does not make me demonic nor divisive. It means that I am embracing how God made me. That I do not backpedal, nor do I find myself ashamed or scorned because of it. And shame on those black puppets who are being used with no string to suggest otherwise. I want you to know this is not the Muppets over here. Ain't no strings gonna be able to manipulate me into believing that I cannot stand under the cross of Jesus Christ, who was crucified, and might I add, who was also black, out of African descent. I know you don't like it. I know it's unseemly. I know it's hard for you to digest. But it is the last vestiges of racism in this nation that you cannot swallow or find it palatable to come with the grim reality that Jesus was Palestinian, that Jesus was an immigrant, and that Jesus was in fact crucified by a governmental system. It makes us look in the mirror when we would so much rather look out the window. I came to where it is that I am today because I saw several months ago, after the swearing in of the president, that a lot of companies that feigned and fashioned themselves to be our friend was doing the electric slide backwards. One of them was Target. Oh, we brought Target to the cookout. We even gave Target a hood nickname with a tattoo. We shifted them out of foster care, made Target Target. This is how much allegiance we had to Target, as we were spending upwards of $12 million, wait for it, a day. We weren't asking for a favor. We weren't asking for a set aside. We were asking for dignity. I only asked Target for 4 things. Tell me whether or not you feel like this is reasonable for an entity, an enterprise, an organization, a conglomerate, a company that was taking $12 million a day. Here are the 4 things that I asked for. Number 1, asked that they would invest into HBCUs, 4 or 5 of them. Target is on 27 college campuses, not one historically Black college and university. I didn't even tell them which HBCU. I'm a graduate of Morehouse. If it was a partiality, I would have directed them there or the AUC. I did not. My dad is a graduate of Morgan State University. I didn't direct them there. My grandfather and grandmother went to Wilberforce. I didn't direct them there. My wife is an alumnus of Morris Brown College. I didn't direct them there. I said, choose 6. Partner with 4, 5, 6 HBCUs business programs and show them how to scale a business. And it was silence of the lambs. No response, even to this day. I asked Target, number 2, if you're keeping track, scoreboard is behind me. Second thing that I asked for is to honor the pledge you made. Nobody made you do it. Brian Cornell, the CEO of Target, came out after the killing of George Floyd and said this could have been one of my employees, and made a pledge of $2 billion. I met with Brian Cornell, Reverend Sharpton and I did, back in April, the Thursday before Resurrection Sunday. And Brian Cornell looked us square in the eye and said that they were meeting that commitment of $2 billion. We said, show us the paperwork. Where'd you do it? What businesses? They said that they would have it for us by July 31st. I don't know if you looked at your calendar. I don't know if I'm Rip Van Winkle. I'm almost at Halloween. And still I can't find a paper trail. Hear me. I want to be wrong. Brian Cornell, Target, board. We can pull this, put a ribbon on it. Be done with it. Show me where you made the investment that you said you were going to do. That was number 2. Number 3, I want you to write it down, is I asked for them to place $250 million in Black banks. We spend $12 million a day. $250 million is a drop in the bucket. Again, you pick the Black banks. You tell us the Black institutions. I dare not take patriarchal arrogance and tell you where to do it. You do it so that Black people have access to capital to launch businesses, to be able to franchise, and to be able to get to home ownership, which is the incubator for generational wealth. They gave me the names of 2 Black fiscal companies that they work with. I called the CEOs of those companies, and they said they have not heard from Target since the pandemic. It's number 3. Number 4, I took them to art class, like we were in 8th grade, and said, here's a blank canvas. You write out how DEI will look like under this administration. even if you got to give it a different name. Call it whatever it is that you want. But show me the pathway of success for those who are coming in as minorities, that they will not just stay at entry-level positions. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think I'm asking too much as a partner. And might I add, we've not heard anything. And so because of what it is that we have been able to do collectively, the stock of Target has dropped from $145 a share to $90 a share. Because of what we've been able to do, their valuation has dropped by $12 billion. Because of how we stood together, their foot traffic is down by 8.7%. Their online orders are down by 9.2%. The CEO's salary was slashed by 42%. Still, they've not met since April. We are now in October. Since April, they have not met, have not sent a drumbeat, a smoke signal, or even a pigeon with a note, or even put something in a Coca-Cola bottle and put it in the Atlantic Ocean hoping I would get it. Nothing. I wish that Target would just talk to somebody at Disney if you really want to stop the bleeding. And so we have expanded the conversation, the dialogue, to say in no uncertain terms that no, not only are we fighting for equity, we're fighting for expression. Disney lost $3.7 billion in 3 days and said, Jimmy Kimmel, come talk to us. It's a small world after all. We don't want to be goofy. We don't want to act like Donald Duck. We want to try to figure out how to make it work. And within 72 hours, Walt Disney put Jimmy Kimmel back on the air. 6 months later, Target says we'd rather go down on the Titanic playing violins than to work to do what's right. I'm imploring you, don't you step foot in the shadow of Target. They've done everything to work around us rather than to talk to us. Going to internet influencers, paying them side deals in order to try to break the momentum and the movement, but we're holding fast and holding strong. This is the most effective civil rights boycott in 70 years since the Montgomery bus boycott. And I'm telling you, if Rosa Parks wouldn't give up her seat and she only weighed 97 pounds, I'm almost 100 pounds heavier than her. What makes you think I'm going to give up my seat? We're going to stay right here until we are able to see what it is that our foreparents and ancestors marched for, prayed for, stood for, and preached for. We got to fight on until victory is won, and we've got miles to go before we sleep. This is not a call for division. It is a call for unity. It's a call for compassion. It's a call for understanding. And the Negro spiritual says, I can't let nobody turn us around. We got to keep on walking. We got to keep on talking till we get to freedom land. As of late, we keep hearing Martin Luther King Jr. quoted. And I want to say to you, freedom of speech is not partisan, it's prophetic. Democracy is not silence, it is the art of disagreement. Democracy, I found out from my political science professor when I was at Morehouse College, democracy interrupts warfare. And so be able to speak. But America does not like to hear the voice of those who have reason and grace and love. So I come in the spirit of love. I have to say in the words of that great humanitarian, Rodney King, can we all just get along? Can we get along so that we don't have to drag each other through the mud? Can we get along without assassinating people's character? Can we get along? I have never built a sermon preaching against another preacher. Never. Never, never, never. I am awed by pastors who are preaching against preachers and not preaching for principle. The principle that I stand on is understanding I serve a Savior who didn't just die on the cross. I serve a Savior who kicked over tables, who called out what was the hypocrisy in high priests and in Pharisees. It's my responsibility to say something about the 300,000 Black women who have lost their jobs in the rollback of DEI. 327,000 Black women who are qualified, who know how to process, who can handle complex issues like Joy Reid, like Kamala Harris, like Michelle Obama, like Sheila Jackson Lee, like Jasmine Crockett. 300,000 Black women have lost their job from the spring to the summer. And do you know the fastest growing demographic of those who have gained jobs from the spring to the summer? White men. That's not a racist statement. That's an absolute truth. My big brother John Hope Bryant says he likes numbers because numbers don't lie. And neither am I. When Black women fall out of the workforce, family struggles, homes become eroded, and America loses its Black backbone. It has been Black women who are the most consistent voting bloc in this nation. Black women who have the fastest trajectory of entrepreneurship. Black women who lead in home buyership. So we've got to safeguard them, not doing them a favor, but recognizing their genius and their prowess. America has no problem recognizing Black women's bodies. They have great difficulty recognizing their brains. The 300,000 Black women need a seat at the table, and I guess this is a good place for me to tell you that the number one beneficiaries of DEI is not Black women, it's white women. But nobody wants to talk about that. Second to them is those who are physically challenged. Nobody wants to say anything about that. Third is the Latino community. I ain't gonna say nothing about that. African Americans are the fourth in line of recipients of DEI. And so when it is that we call for diversity, equity, and inclusion, it is to make America great. So everybody gets a seat at the table. Because Fannie Lou Hamer said, if you don't have a seat at the table, then you are on the menu. I want to say a word to students who are at HBCUs. Because the best and the brightest of those who are emerging in the next generation are under fire. W.E.B. Du Bois calls them the talented 10th. They are facing opportunities that are only as big as the opposition they are now facing. It's hard for them to scrounge together the coins for tuition. Parents are having to put second mortgages on homes. Many of them are up to their nose in student loan debt before they ever put their diploma into a frame. No HBCUs are in Utah. No HBCUs are responsible for making people venomous and hate-filled, but they seem to be the target. I'm putting a prayer of protection around our faculty, around the staff, around our instructors, and around our students who are doing all that they can to shape another generation of leaders. I want to thank them for operating in dignity and class and excellence, even while it is that their campuses have been infiltrated, even while their campuses have had to shut down for security precautions, even while it is that in the same state where it is that they are budgeted, they are woefully under budgeted, even while they are overproducing. HBCUs produce the most Black doctors, the most Black lawyers, the most Black engineers, and the most Black entrepreneurs. And still their presidents have to run around as banshees, trying to do all that they can in order to keep the lights on. I want you to be able to speak. And I want you to be able to exercise your constitutional right to speak. Jesus said, if you don't cry out, then the rocks are going to have to cry. James Weldon Johnson, in penning the Negro National Anthem, said, lift every voice, not just lift up Republican voices or Democratic voices or PhD voices or GED voices. Lift every voice. Your voice is your vote. You do not have the right to remain silent. You've got to say something about our seniors who are losing protection in Medicare and Medicaid. Use your voice. Say something about how it is that slavery is now being banned from being taught because it makes the children of slave owners uncomfortable. Lift up your voice about the maltreatment of our veterans who serve nobly in this country. Use your voice for how it is that genocide is happening in broad daylight in Gaza and Palestine, and we're saying absolutely nothing. Lift up your voice how 1 million Americans slept in their car last night and are dealing with food insecurity. Lift up your voice about how it is that immigrants are being treated like criminals. Lift up your voice against those who say that they are pro-life and pro-children, but are not anti-pedophiles because they won't demand the release of the Epstein list. Lift up your voice because the minimum wage is no longer proving to be a livable wage. Lift up your voice that now we are seeing that immigration is not just a Latino issue, it's a Haitian issue, it's a Jamaican issue, it's a Ghanaian issue, it's a Nigerian issue, it's a diasporic issue. You have a constitutional right to use your voice. I'm from Baltimore, the home of house music, but 45 miles away in Washington, D.C. is the home of go-go. And Chuck Brown would put it best. Let me clear my throat. Clear your throat, because we got a whole lot to do, a whole lot to say, a whole lot to accomplish. The midterms are coming. Your vote is going to be so important. Pastors, do not forsake your call to cry loud and to spare not. Preach in season and out of season. And as long as I am Jamal Harrison Bryant, let's be clear. I am going to exercise my constitutional right and operate in my God-given call. God bless you. And I'll see you soon, because I got some more I need to say.